And while we're in this space, I'm going to invite John Henry in to give you some interesting observations of his own. And you can keep your hands on your heart or relax, whatever's most comfortable for you as you listen. He has a very good sense of humor, so hopefully we'll get a taste of that. Well, hello. I'd like to weave together all your hearts today so that when you leave here, you feel like you're all tied together, but not in knots, tied together in a way that will allow you to always feel each other's hearts no matter where you are. That's what it is when you know someone very well and you connect in with them and you love them so deeply. You always know that your heart is woven into theirs. And at this time of your life and your incarnative process here on this planet, what's important is to weave your heart into the hearts of strangers. Those you don't know, those you haven't felt yet, those who you might feel differently from or for, and those who in some way may not understand how the heart works. So your job, and I'm going to just assume that you came here to have this job, and you can decide whether or not you want to take it away, but it is a suggestion and an invitation, that you recognize how important your heart is in the world. Your heart is important. Just for a moment say that, my heart is important.
My heart is important.
My heart is important. Ah. See, because the most important thing, that is the heart, for you to take away from here today is that how important your heart is in touching other hearts. In using your heart as an active mechanism to fortify your total consciousness. So, if there's something happening, something's not working, there's confusion, overwhelm, perhaps fear, perhaps whatever else, worry, confusion, concern, all of those energies, if I might say so, are caused by either that voice the one speaking was talking about that isn't yours, or something that's happening outside of you that doesn't actually have merit in affecting you in the way that it might. So the most important thing, in my estimation, in my studies and in my travels, has been the constancy of the attention to the heart. So that you actually pay attention all the time to this beautiful organ that's pumping away and keeping things going for you in your body. As the one speaking said, it is very important to understand that we are not trying to train our emotion to be good and better and better and better and best. We're not trying to fix things so that everything works better the way that our mind thinks it should. Because of course, if the mind's in the mix, it's not going to work anyway. So the heart becomes the central place where life force happens, where connections happen, where decisions are made, where love is actually tested and tried out and experienced, and where the basic nature of your own being rests most of the time. Now, it doesn't matter what you believe, because the belief system has been formed by a conditional reality. You are, most of you, not used to unconditional love, absolute unconditional love. If you're used to it, you're very, very fortunate. So the fortunate people here who understand what that is, then call that forth. Call that unconditional love into being for others through the heart by just staying connected to the heart. So the opportunity becomes for each of you to recognize how your heart could most deeply affect the life you're living. Now, some of you might say, my children. Some of you might say, my dying parent. Some of you might say, my obnoxious dog. Some of you might say, my obnoxious neighbor. Some of you might say, my obnoxious boss. See, the idea here is something is a thorn in your side. And of course, I think about it in terms of if there's a thorn in your side, it's calling for HeartThread. It's calling for, okay, so what can I do to activate something that will make this easier? Because it's all about ease and grace. If it's not ease and grace, it's not in the heart, and it's not this experience of knowing that everything is connected. So when we have these opportunities with family, friends, neighbors, employers, employees, whatever it might be, that's a time to test this out. The first thing is to understand that it's not about liking them. It's not about forgiving them. Initially it's not about think that you're right or they're wrong. It's about saying, there's some dis-ease here. There's some energy that doesn't work. There's some foundation that needs to be laid here so that the heart threads can connect again consciously. The idea here actually is that the heart threads are always connected, and it shows how powerful our minds are, that we don't know it. Think about that. We're not taught it in this society in the West. We're not given an understanding about that. We just show up and think, I guess I have to make my own way. I guess I have to survive. I guess I have to compete. I guess I have all these things I have to do, you see. So we want to change those ideas because they're not accurate. They're not supportive, sustainable, or foundationed in grace. So what we really want to do is start again. So today in this room, we're starting again. Oh, there's another truth I wasn't told before. Okay, very simple. So then forgiveness isn't necessary because we begin to actually coordinate within our own being something much more dynamic to live from and to live within. So the first thing is we go to our heart and we hold the space of the heart just like the one speaking instructed you before. You just put your hand on your heart like this. If you can't do that, somebody's watching, you don't want to be seen putting your hands on your heart, you can just imagine. I imagine that my right hand, in my giving hand, is right on my heart because that's where I need it. I need to be able to give this, so it's going to be right with my right hand. My left hand is where I'm receiving from the universe, my receptive side, so I'm going to put that on top so that my receptive side and my heart make a sandwich. That was a Philadelphia accent, a sandwich. Sandwich between the heart and the universe. In, right? Okay, so then as soon as you're rested in that space and it's really, really strong, you open, and what are you doing? You see? Everybody who has heart attacks has pain in the arms, usually. There's a connection, right? So giving and receiving is the same thing, and we want to make that balanced, and we want to open that space out. And when you stand like this and you open that space out, the energy just flows like a container, and it's very beautiful. So the idea is I'm looking at this person who has this barking dog, or who has a high fence and is cutting the limbs of my tree, or whatever it is. So many things you could come up. We could sit here all day talking about situations, right? So the situation is okay. Here we go. So you get the name, face, place, situation in your awareness. First thing is identify the thorn in the side. It could be Syria, it could be Palestine, it could be anything. What's the thorn in your side? Not enough water. Animals being unfairly treated. Whatever, it doesn't matter what it is. Because it can be a personal thing where someone is invading your boundary or your space with their sound, with their presence, with their energy. Or it can be anywhere in the world where the balance is not yet accorded, right? So then we understand it is about what we're paying attention to that we bring the heart to. And we take our ego, the thought structure about, I'm going to heal this, all that stuff, and we throw that in the garbage can, and we just go to the heart. Because the heart threads are authentic, they're pure, they're indivisible, inseparable, and constant. And the one thing that happens in the world is a lack of constancy. You think about that. How many things in your life can you count on? Actually count on, right? So that changeability creates a lack of confidence, a lack of foundation, a lack of grounding, a lack of lots of things. So the heart's always there. If you're breathing, your heart's there. So you actually then put your hands on your heart, either etherically, psychically, physically, whatever, and you settle. And then you think about the thorn in your side. Why don't we do that? So put your hands on your heart and think about the thorn in your side. While you're in your heart, you can bring in the situation, you can bring in your anger, you can bring in something that doesn't fit or doesn't work, or some feeling you're having that you don't want to be feeling anymore, or you can bring in someone's face that you want to just kind of tear up their picture. It doesn't matter what it is. Bring it in. The heart has no boundaries. And you settle in the heart, just staying there. And then when you're ready, you bring this thorn in your side into your heart with you. Please don't do anything. Don't send them light. Don't do all kinds of stuff, spiritual stuff. Don't do any spiritual stuff, right? Just be with them in your heart. And you really, really start to understand that there's no room in your heart for discord. Because the discord starts to dissolve. And I'm telling you what you're feeling, but you can give me some feedback if it's not true. But the idea here is that there's really no separation. And yeah, you'd like them to change what they're doing. But something magic starts to happen. It takes the energy and the angst out of the anger, the disappointment, the misunderstanding, and makes room for there to be something else. Does anybody want to share anything before we go on to something else? It's okay, you can talk in here. All right, so I'll ask a question. Does it become more challenging to hold the angst? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay, that's the point. Okay, that's the point. All right, great. All right, so the idea here is that when we walk around recognizing the power of our own heart, the importance of our own heart, we begin to also recognize that this is a tool we can use all the time. Because deep within your being, you do not want to be angry. You want to be accepted and approved of and loved and understood. And there's no one on the planet that doesn't really, truly want that, no matter how they act, what they say, or how they tweet, right? So as you recognize that this is a true energy reality with all living beings, then you begin to have compassion for each other because you realize they're just like I am. We have the same stuff. They really want what I want. We can actually build a bridge here that I never thought we could build.